Welcome to Ideas Remaking the World. Now, this is the 10th year we have featured some of the best ideas from all of you, from our very own members. And these ideas that you're going to see today, they are transformational for individuals, for communities, and for societies. We receive so many submissions, and they reflect, I think, the diversity and the passion of the members that you're sitting with today. The topics went from AI to the arts, from education to healthcare, and way beyond. So today, you're going to hear some ideas that were selected based upon the IWF criteria. And that criteria is three things. We want to talk about ideas that are always original, that are measurable, and scalable. So think about those three things as you hear our speakers today. Now, to each of you who made a submission, and I know many of you did, I want to say thank you. They were really excellent, and it was very, very difficult for our committee to make a decision with such a competitive pool from each of you. So all of your ideas reflected our members, all of our IWF members, ability to solve problems and change the world. So think about that today, the changing of the world, when our speakers are telling you about their ideas. So I'd like to first say thank you to my fellow selection committee members. They had a lot of hard work this year. So there are several of them. Annika Verdigans from IWF in Finland, Vivian Lau of IWF Hong Kong, who is here, Deborah Trudeau of IWF Canada, and then Joanne Salazar from IWF Trinidad and Tobago. So now I'm really honored to present our first speaker. And our first presenter's idea addresses a really often overlooked global injustice. It's called energy poverty. She is working to make sure that everyone, everywhere around the world has a clean, safe access to energy. So please welcome a member of IWF Canada. She is the founder and the CEO of Grengine. Meet Connie, Stacey.
Today, more than 1 billion people live in energy poverty. And like so many global challenges, the burden falls hardest on women and children. Without electricity, tens of millions of women will never get paid work outside of their homes. And tens of millions of children will never complete primary school. This is what energy poverty looks like. It's been estimated that it will take a commitment of over $40 billion a year for the next 10 years to bring an end to energy poverty. The problem is massive. But what if we could end energy poverty not by finding a spare $500 billion, but by making energy smarter? Solving this problem was a journey that started for me in 2013. I was on maternity leave with my twin boys, taking them for a walk, when we passed by a house under construction. They were using a diesel generator for power. And I remember thinking, if you wake these babies, I'm going to lose it. Thankfully, they didn't wake, but it got me thinking, why are we still using diesel generators? Nobody likes them. They're expensive, they're loud, they're smelly, and they are horrific on the environment. Surely we could find some kind of renewable energy system. That moment changed everything. The question led me into the world of renewable energy and to a surprising truth. Most systems are far too complex for the average person to install or design. And the biggest barrier? Batteries. What most people don't know is that batteries are more than just chemistry. They're also electronics. The electronics in a battery are there to control and keep safe the energy. They control how fast a battery can charge or discharge, monitor for overheating, and prevent dangerous conditions like short circuits. And given how often we hear about battery fires, it's clear these protections don't always work as they should. But here's the deeper issue. Very few people know how to design and build these systems. So if you live in places like rural sub-Saharan Africa or Canada's Arctic, you can be sure your neighbor is not a battery engineer. So despite the availability of clean energy, it remains inaccessible to billions. I couldn't ignore that. So in January 2016, I did something that felt more than a little crazy. After 15 years in tech, I left my safe, secure job, and I founded Grengine, a social enterprise committed to making energy storage truly accessible to everyone. But to do that, we had to rethink batteries entirely. Instead of building a battery and adding basic safety features, we built something smarter, a computer with energy storage at its core. Because accessibility shouldn't require expertise, it should be built in. Think about your smartphone for a moment. It's a computer in your pocket, and it's everywhere. Not because people are trained in electronics or they understand the technology inside them, but because the complexity is hidden. It just works. That's what we've done with batteries. Plug-and-play power designed for people, not technicians. You could say we've put the engineer in the box. Normally, energy systems have to be designed by teams of engineers, calculating voltages, sizes, wiring, and safety limits. With our technology, that happens automatically. Each battery talks to the others. When you connect them, no cables required. They recognize each other, form a network, assign roles, and balance power instantly. So instead of spending days or weeks flying specialists to remote sites, the system configures itself. The end user simply connects the pieces, and the system takes care of the rest. That means faster deployment, lower cost, and safe, reliable power anywhere on Earth. Of course, it sounds simple now, but it was anything but simple. We had no money, no real roadmap, and there's no manual for how to build battery electronics. It's all trade secrets. So we had to learn everything from scratch. Any rational person would have quit, and I had plenty of people tell me I should do just that. But I couldn't, because the injustice of inequality, worsened by energy poverty, is a passion that burns in me. Being a woman in the deep tech manufacturing industry, which is heavily dominated by men, meant I faced other inequalities too. We had to fight every step of the way to be taken seriously. I heard it all. Sorry, I need to speak with someone technical, or, but who really invented it? Or my personal favorite, I just stopped by to explain to you girls how electricity works. These moments didn't stop me, they fueled me. Because whether it's a woman in a lab or women living by candlelight, the message to both is the same: you can't. Both messages are wrong. Over time, a few people began to believe. They made introductions, they opened doors, and the circle of believers began to grow. In late 2018, one of those believers suggested we enter a technology competition at a major US defense conference. The application didn't ask any questions about the founders. They only asked questions about the technology. And lo and behold, we won. Thank you. That was a key turning point for us. People started to look at us differently. It led to more awards, more believers, and eventually to the pilots and partnerships that would prove what we could do. One of those pilots was with the government of Canada, which was looking for clean energy alternatives for remote Arctic communities that only had diesel generators for power. We deployed a system in the Arctic Circle to demonstrate our technology could operate in the world's harshest, most remote environments. Most containerized battery systems take weeks to deploy. For Grengine, it was 2 people, under 4 hours, at minus 45 degrees Celsius. Thank you. The system ran fully autonomously for the next year, while we monitored it remotely from our facility in Edmonton, 1,200 kilometers away. We also had the opportunity to collaborate with the Canadian Armed Forces on multiple projects. They aim to cut diesel use and reduce emissions during remote operations and disaster relief. So we were given the chance to demonstrate what our technology could do. The Canadian Armed Forces operate up to 9 camps a year with up to 1,500 people per camp. Powering those camps takes about 337 million liters of diesel per year at a cost of over $400 million and producing over 900,000 tons of emissions. That's the equivalent of 77 million bags of garbage per year. And the Canadian Armed Forces are far from the largest user of diesel power. Today, we're scaling the first generation of our technology by making energy accessible to everyone. Will take more than technology and innovation. It will take champions. So if this mission speaks to you, I'd love your help through connections, partnerships, or simply sharing the story. But this is a story about more than technology or energy. It's a story about inequality. Among the billions living in energy poverty could be the next Shakespeare or Mozart, or even the person who cures cancer. The possibilities are endless. But without access to energy, the world will never be able to share in their light. So please, help us spread the word that energy poverty can be solved. And together, let's power possibility. Thank you. Thank you. Hello again.
Hello. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Your pioneering work is absolutely critical, and I think we all heard this. This is a really powerful solution to a gigantic problem. However, everyone in this room has heard these stories about these lithium batteries, and they get really overheated, and then they sometimes explode. How are you going to solve for that risk?
Well, that's an interesting problem. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is batteries are actually in tons of different devices that don't require certifications. And that becomes a very big problem. So if you were to install a battery like ours, for example, in a home in North America, you would require UL 1973 certification. But if it happens to be a small device, like a vape, for example, they don't have certifications, and there's nothing controlling the battery, which means it's very unsafe. So for me, one of the big things that we're pushing is making sure that everything that has a battery has to have certification. So it's a big process, but it's something that can only move by people talking about it. So that's what we work on.
I feel a lot safer hearing from Connie. I'm sure you do too. Connie, also, what's the most exciting use of technology on the horizon for Grengine? What should we hear about?
Yeah, well, one of the things that happened out of that 2018 defense conference was it occurred to me that, gee, shouldn't this stuff, if it's going to have all this electronics, have cybersecurity? So we actually developed the most cyber-secure battery or energy system in the world. And right now we have interest from groups like not only the Canadian Armed Forces, but NATO. So we're currently in phase 3 of the NATO Diana program, which is an accelerator for technology they consider to be most critical to their operations. So very excited about that on the horizon and where that might take us.
Thank you so much. What a powerful presentation from Connie.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Isn't she incredible? So our next presenter is a woman that believes very strongly and passionately that talent is everywhere, and opportunity should be as well. Through AI and data science, she's empowering women all around the world. So I want you to give a strong welcome to a member of IWF Georgia, and she is the founder and the CEO of HerWILL. Her name is Farhana.
National Women's Forum, where ideas are truly remaking the world. What an honor to be here. Now, take a look at me. What do you see? An immigrant success story? A woman who has made it? The truth is, I wasn't even supposed to be on this stage. Luck brought me to the United States, and it was relentless hard work that kept me there. Everything I've built, my education, my career, my freedom to be myself, comes from one thing: access to opportunity. And that's what I'm here to talk about, because talent knows no borders, only opportunity does. Through HerWILL, we're building that bridge. I was born in Bangladesh, where girls are taught early what not to do. But I dreamed anyway. I defied all rules. I shouldn't have been the exception. My field, data science, the foundation of AI, opened rooms for me where women were barely seen. And after years of work, I looked around and saw brilliant women everywhere doing everything right, but still left behind. That's when I realized my story wasn't the rule. It was the exception. And that needs to change. Why do we still believe that brilliance has a zip code? Opportunity shouldn't depend on where you're born. It should depend on what you can do. Artificial intelligence now shapes how we live, learn, and earn, mostly by people who look nothing like the most of the world. So I began to imagine something different. What if the next great innovator isn't from Stanford, but from a Syrian refugee camp? What if the next technology breakthrough comes from a girl with a cracked laptop, a shoddy internet connection, but endless curiosity? That's the belief gap I refuse to accept. AI is moving faster than any industrial revolution before us. But not everyone gets to be the part of it. 2/3 of all AI unicorns live in a small part of the world, Silicon Valley. 2.6 billion people, that's 1 in 3 humans, are still offline. By 2030, nearly 1/3 of jobs could be automated, mostly held by women and youth in developing countries. We're building the next economy with only part of humanity in the room. If we don't change that, inequality won't just persist, it will be coded in. The very people trying to climb up are now watching the ladder disappear beneath them. If AI can travel without borders, why can't opportunity? That question became a blueprint, and that blueprint became HerWILL, Women Inspired in Life and Leadership. We're building a world where learning and working have no restrictions, where a woman doesn't need permission or proximity to succeed. Because as cliched as it may sound, when a woman rises, the world lifts with them. Opportunity just needs a connection. HerWILL isn't a charity. It's a system of social mobility. Because sometimes a Zoom link can change a life faster than a plane ticket. We build skills for a borderless future through AI and data science boot camps, global datathons solving real-world problems, and structured mentorships that link global experts to motivated minds around the world. We're not exporting opportunity. We are unlocking it. And it's working. In just few years, we've trained over 5,500 women across 6 countries, offered 400 plus scholarships, and built a community of 60,000 brilliant women around the world. We've built a fast-moving model that turns learners into leaders through project-based teams. Every project becomes a portfolio. Every portfolio becomes visibility with employers, universities, and research partners. And that visibility leads to real consulting work, scholarships, and global collaborations. The best leadership pipelines don't start in boardrooms. They start in classrooms. Internally, our goal is simple. You start as a learner today, you become a leader in a few months. Learn, work, lead, and repeat. We've trained through power cuts, taught across time zones, and bridged cultures wider than oceans. Let's look at Carol, who began volunteering from a conflict zone in Syria. She's now leading our programs there, inspiring hundreds of women to join. Tahia started out as an intern and now runs national programs in Bangladesh. Raima went from boot camps to mentor to global instructors and is now a graduate student at Harvard, one of the most competitive programs in the world. And now they're doing it outside. Let me show you that in action. In Bangladesh, women trained by HerWILL are creating the first Bengali AI career guidebook, translating technology into the language of millions because they understand something we often forget. Technology is useless if it doesn't speak the language of the people it's meant to serve. And now, let me take you to Syria. Jawa lives in Safita, a city scarred by war. Her internet cut out 3 times during her final presentation at our global datathon. She still won. Not because we gave her charity, but because we gave her a chance to show the world what she already was, brilliant and unstoppable. That's not just innovation. That's really true resilience. That's what happens when we stop asking, where are you from? And start asking, what can you do? If you've ever been given an opportunity to change your life, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Because the future doesn't start with technology. It starts with your will. You can help, partner, mentor, invest. It's not a charity. Equality is never a charity. It's smart economics. The communities that win the AI race won't have the most capital. It will have the most talent. And to this room, here in Cape Town, Africa is not the future of AI. Africa is the present. The talent is already here. All they need is a laptop, Wi-Fi, and a chance to start. When I began, I asked you to look at me, an immigrant who found her success. Now, I want you to look beyond me, to the millions who are still waiting for theirs. Because borders were not made for maps, were made for maps only, not for minds. When opportunity flows freely, the world rises. No passport required, only potential. The next great innovator won't need a Stanford badge, only a chance. But that chance depends on us. Every time we open a door, mentor a person, share a skill, we redraw the map of who gets to shape the future. So let's make that future borderless. Let's make that ours. Let's make it now. Thank you.
Farhana, your passion is contagious. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudia.
I have a couple questions. How is HerWILL different from the general marketplace where people can work from anywhere? There are platforms everywhere. How is HerWILL different?
Most digital marketplaces monetize labor. We're not trying to do that. We're building human capital. We're building the next generation of tech leaders. So as other digital marketplaces are transactional, we are transformational. We're building leaders from inside out. That is the difference.
So you're reaching 60,000 women across 6 countries. So where do you see HerWILL going in this rapidly advancing AI world? What's going to happen next?
So we are planning to go on our roadmap to go in 2 directions. We're going to go deeper and we're going to go wider. Deeper in the countries we're already working in, because individual success will, if we make it our focus, they will reach out to the communities, and the local learners will become global change makers. Because what we are trying to do is make the next generation of founders, innovators, and change makers. So, and wider, if we look at places like South Africa, where the AI ecosystem is thriving, but less than 2% representation of women in AI workforce. And if we want to change that, we need to collaborate and we need to partner, and that's how we plan to grow.
Thank you, Farhana. What an inspiring vision.
Thank you so much. All of you are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. So now we're ready for our third presenter. She is a woman who's transforming how we understand genetics to improve health outcomes for all of us. Now, she has a PhD in biochemistry. She is the first Black woman to solely found a genetics company. CariGenetics is the Caribbean region's first large-scale initiative to map that country's large, unique genetic diversity. And she's going to advance precision medicine. So I want you a round of applause for the founder and the CEO of CariGenetics. This is Dr. Carika Weldon.
A small but mighty region of the world, the Caribbean. You may know us for our music, for our food, for sunshine and beaches, and also the fastest people in the world. But my talk today is focusing on the people of the Caribbean and how we can understand our genetics in our region and help make global change to healthcare for more healthcare equity. I present to you the 33 countries of the Caribbean, representing 46 million people. Bigger than you thought, right? And I want to give a big shout out to the 5 countries that are represented in IWF. You can see them with the green ticks: the Bahamas, Barbados, Bermuda, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. Now, this is who we are using for all of our medical research. Does that look like it represents us in the room? So we're looking at European men. About 85% of the data that is used for designing if medications are safe, if they are effective, have been used on European men. This is, women even were left out of clinical trials until 1993. So drugs like aspirin, morphine, heparin, Valium, they were all tested in clinical trials only on men. The reason was our bodies as women are too variable every month. Our hormones go up and down. That's not good for science, so they said. So that was corrected from 1993. But what we're focusing on now is the genetic diversity and ethnicity imbalance that is in medicine. And the idea that I have for you is my passion as a small island girl to make sure that my people are not left behind in the advances of medical technology. So this is me when I was a baby. Lots of hair, I was told. I'm from Bermuda, which is actually the smallest country that is represented in IWF. We have a table in the middle. And I left Bermuda at 18 to go to become a biochemist. When I left, I was actually asked by those who I did my scholarship interviews, well, what are you going to use medical biochemistry for? And I was like, I don't know, but I like it. So I went away to England, and I stayed there for 12 years. And it just so happened that I was the only Bermudian to have a PhD in RNA science when the big C word happened in 2020. So I ended up getting called back home, and I led the COVID strategy for Bermuda. I was the science advisor to the premier. I had to set up the testing strategy. It didn't feel like it was nice at the time, I'll tell you that. But what we were able to accomplish was amazing. We were the first island in the region to actually open back up our airport, July 2020. We had no COVID deaths for 9 months because of the testing that we had in place. And by the time I left, we had 705,000 COVID tests that we'd done, bearing in mind Bermuda is only 65,000 people. And that alone was all funded by the government because we brought the price of the test down enough that we actually didn't need health insurance to cover it, and we saved those companies $210 million. Now, for that work, thank you, I received a number of awards, but what I took away were two main things. Number one, we all know about those different strains, alpha, beta, gamma, Omicron. South Africa actually discovered 2 of those strains, which is actually a very good feat scientifically. But in the Caribbean, we didn't have the capacity to even tell which strain it was. You needed to have sequencing, genetic sequencing to happen. We eventually got someone in Trinidad, actually, that had a little small one, and everyone in the region was sending to this one researcher. Wasn't good capacity. And secondly, again, when the vaccine came out, being the RNA scientist, I was the face of the vaccine campaign in Bermuda. And the week one, we saw 90% of white Bermudians had signed up for the vaccine, but black Bermudians, it was 50-50. And when I spoke to them, they said, well, this hasn't really been tested on people like me. And I broke the bad news that none of the medication that they were taking has been tested on people like that. And the sheer fear in their eyes was like, what? And so I decided I wanted to make a difference around that and realized that actually looking at the Caribbean, we represent the global population. We are 46 million people, but we have 10 plus different ethnic groups in our region. We are the most concentrated African diaspora in the world, but also what makes us really stand out is just like how we have today, how many tables? I'm guessing about 50. Imagine you're all little islands. And you only can have children, well, you can't have children because you're all women, but imagine you could. You only can have children with the people on your island. That means everyone that's sitting at your table, whatever genetics they have, that's all you got. And in the Caribbean, that's happened over hundreds of years. And what we're seeing is enrichment of rare genetic traits that we find elsewhere. We actually have more of it in the Caribbean. This is the ethnic melting pot of the Caribbean. We have, again, all these different mixes. I myself am made up of 3 different ethnicities. I am majority African descent. I have European and also Native American. And I'm really honored to be here because my maternal African matriarch actually was from Cape Town. She was born on a slave ship from Cape Town to Bermuda. Unfortunately, her mother got sick on the boat and was thrown overboard. So we don't know her actual name, or what her name would have been, but she was named Ida Thompson Smith and married and came into my family that way, and I'm here. So this is the essence. Our genetics actually holds all of our ancestors in a code in our DNA. And this is where CariGenetics was birthed. We are also the only solo female-funded genomics company in the world, and I'm very proud of that because we need to make sure that we put our equity first. So our big idea, or my big idea, is that we have the Caribbean Genome Program, where for the first time we're studying 250,000 Caribbean people by 2030. Big things. Now, I'm really excited to say that I actually pitched this idea to a consortium of pharma companies about 3 months ago, and they loved it. They are looking for more diverse data because they know that it's not as good as it should be. And so we're working with these 10 companies that are actually interested in helping us to fund this program in the region. Okay, we're now in a science class. All right, so medicine is about trying to hit a target, right? Something is wrong, and you want to be able to fix it. You go to your doctor, you expect them to know what's wrong, right? Now, most of the times, unfortunately, it looks something like this, where they're guessing. And so genetics is actually there to actually make the aim a bit better, right? We're trying to find that bullseye and hit it. Our DNA is like our body's instruction manual. I'm pretty sure at some point all of us in this room have bought something from IKEA. Yeah, you would be remiss to try to put that thing together without the manual. Sometimes it's just too hard. In the same way, our body has an instruction manual for how it's best for us to live, and we need to read our DNA to know that. There are 4 building blocks of DNA, A, C, G, and T. And in the same way, our phone numbers are based off of the 10 numbers, but in a different order, and that makes it unique to you. Our genetic code is based over these 4 letters, but in a unique order. And you get your code from your mom and your dad. And then they got it from their mom and their dad. You have 2 copies of every gene, and this is what makes us all very unique and diverse. If you look at the person next to you, you're going to see they look different to you, right? That's because they have a unique code. Now, what's important is that each of us in this room as humans have 3 billion of these letters that make us up. 3 billion. And 99% of that is actually the same. But it's that 1% that makes us unique, and that's what we're looking at. So really quickly, genetic testing can actually improve healthcare by looking at 3 different things: the right medication to use, our risk of disease, and how fast we age, and how we can actually reverse it. Pharmacogenetics, that is the key term I would like you to take away. It's the only big word I put in here, is the study of how genes affect how we metabolize medication. How do we respond to drugs? It's huge in terms of cost savings. The UK actually costed, it would save them £500 million per year. Because otherwise, people are going to the emergency room because they have bad reactions to medications that their body just can't process. It's something that we really should be doing as standard care. We actually have tested a number of people in the Caribbean and found that for tamoxifen, which is a breast cancer medication you may know of, 40% of the people we tested are advised not to take tamoxifen. It's not working properly. It's only killing half of the cancer. This is the type of information that is transformational. Now, like me, you probably checked the weather before you came to Cape Town to make sure you had packed the right clothes. We're very used to checking the weather and making sure we prepare. In the same way, we can look at our DNA and check what are the risks of disease that are coming. Some of that is random, we can check, but a lot of it we can actually see in our DNA. So normally we get sick, go to the doctor, you try to manage the disease. What we're saying is we can use a genetics approach where we actually can identify the risk earlier, take preventative measures, and actually delay the onset or even reduce your risk of getting that disease. We've done tests, and we have a test that looks at 17 different diseases, including cancers, Alzheimer's, stroke, early menopause. There are a lot of different ways that you can look at this. We've done some tests in the Caribbean, and we know for these, the big 3 that I want to put on here, prostate cancer. We have a high genetic risk in the Caribbean of prostate cancer risk, and we are actually the region dying the most from prostate cancer in the world. LDL cholesterol, which is the bad one, which leads to coronary artery disease, Again, super high genetic risk. You see we tested 3 different countries here, and Alzheimer's disease. We worked with the government of BVI to test a cohort of their people and found they had 20% of their people had a high risk of Alzheimer's risk. So now with that information, governments can actually take action to have intervention, and individuals can then take that and try to intervene in their lifestyle. All right, last but not least, your body is like a car. Personally, I like a Jaguar. I don't know about you. And when you got your car, when you were born, you have been taking care of it. And imagine 2 people that have the same car. One takes care of it, gets it checked every year, and puts the right gas in it, and gets it cleaned, and someone else just raggedy rocket, just doing all the bad things. When they're going to check how that car is aging, it's going to be different. And it's the same for our body. That's what we call our biological age. The age of your body is not the same age as what you are on the calendar. And we can test that. I'm super excited to say I am actually 35. And I checked my biological age. I was very nervous. But it actually came out that my body is 30. I'm 5 years younger, guys. I'm so excited. Woo. Actually, my 30th birthday, I was doing COVID tests, so I feel like I'm getting a reset. And so we are super excited that this is actually a very easy test. It's a saliva sample. It's painless, non-invasive, and you get the results back in 3 to 5 weeks via our CariGenetics app. So how can you take this information? I've given you a lot. You can learn more if you want to learn more about genetics via taking our Genetics 101 course. You can partner with us. We work with insurance companies, with employee programs, wellness programs, so we can make this accessible to people because this information is crucial. We're also looking for investors and people to help us to expand our business. And I'm super excited to say you can get tested today. Courtesy of CariGenetics, we're giving away 100 free tests to look at your biological age. So you're going to have to download our app. If you go into the App Store or to Google Play, you can download CariGenetics. You're going to have to do that before you come. Testing is in a room down the hall. And I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much.
Carika. It is very difficult to communicate joy at the same time as you make genetics simple. So thank you for that. So I've got a question. I want to raise a concern that many of us have regarding our medical data.
Yes. So you all probably heard about 23andMe and them getting hacked. A lot of people, millions of people's data actually was now out on the black internet and everything. What we do is we actually are compliant with GDPR, which states that you are the owner of your data. We are the controller. You tell us what to do, and we do it. But you have the full control over it. You own it. And you can tell us to delete it. If you want to remove the app after you get your results, you don't want to look at it anymore, you can do that. You are in full control. And we do not sell your data without your consent. Now, we would love to be able to accumulate your data and look at the trends like I did today, but that's only if you opt in.
All right. You also mentioned genetic age, and there seemed to be a little bit of interest in the room from that. I'm just saying. It's going to be very, very popular. Everyone's going to race out of the room. Could you explain to this group a little bit more about that? What does that really mean?
Yeah, so I didn't get into this, but we know about genetics. There is actually another layer on top of your genetics called epigenetics. It's actually chemical reactions on your DNA that come from the environment. So from the time you were born, you're having different changes on top of your DNA that actually are reversible. So that is what biological age is looking at, is what is all of those methylation on your DNA, and how do they correlate to aging?
So thanks to Carika, because your work has the potential to transform medical treatments and technology around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So please join me in a round of applause for Farhana, for Connie, and for Carika. Now, we're doing something different this year. You're going to have the opportunity to actually meet all of our Ideas Remaking the World speakers in person. We are going to have them tomorrow at a speakers meet and greet. You can see it on your schedule. We're excited about this. And additionally, if you're interested, as some of you may be, in genetic age, there will be testing with Dr. Weldon, as I said. It's going to be in a room on this floor. I think if you go out and turn right, room 1.41. It's just down the hall from this ballroom. We also encourage you, because we're going to break up in a bit, to visit all of our pop-up shops. So we're now going to have a break before our lunch session. So what I ask you to do is, take all of your belongings as you leave the room. They've got to switch the room out. Does that make sense? And I want you to remember these three names: Connie, Stacey, Farhana, Hasan, and Carika, Weldon. These are really women who are remaking our world. Thank you, dear.